Okay, let's talk about it. Hello. This is gonna be just came back from seeing Weapons. It is 1 in the morning right now, and personally, I think that was a pretty good movie. I wanted to share the reasons why, and I'm gonna give like a non-spoiler summary and then a spoiler summary. Um, as best as I can, just off top. And then if you really like it, you could just kind of go and see it, from that. But I always like to kind of, if I'm really interested in a movie, but I'm not quite sure, I like to get other people's opinions. And on this channel, like I said, I think I want to just provide review content. So that's what this will be. Weapons. Okay. So, and again, this is going to be, if you're coming here for some, like, you want name drops and stuff like that, I'm just going to give you a first opinion. Great from the heart, unfiltered. Okay. Guy who made Barbarian, another movie comes out, boom. I want to see it. Barbarian had some pretty good plot twist with it. And this one, right? I assumed the most like was now maybe not going to be the same movie, but the pacing and the structure and everything I liked about what Barbarian was, I assumed it was going to be in this movie. I do believe that was the case. I was really like the first like hour 20 minutes I was hyper like immersed. Towards the back half of the movie it the pacing kind of switched up, but through and through is very very good. I do like the, how do I say this without spoilers, I think the narrative and the storyline and how it's put together, along with there are some standout characters that were pretty cool, and there are some comedic elements in this, I'll say that as well. But all in all, if you're looking for like a good movie to go watch with your people, I would definitely go recommend seeing not only Barbarian if you haven't seen it, but Weapons. The concept, when I was initially introduced to it, I went to go see 28 Years Later, which I do not recommend going to see. I think it's on Amazon Prime Video, something like that now. Would probably still skip out on it, I'm gonna be honest with you. Go watch 28 Weeks Later again and pretend it ends after that. That's what I would say. Same with the Star Wars movies. Skip the Disney ones. Just watch the third one. That's that. Hey, watch the third one in the originals. But that's all that's all we really need. Phantom Menace as well. Controversial, but that's my opinion. Weapons was introduced to me in the 28 Years Later movie I went to go see. And essentially it's like 217 kids go missing. People are trying to figure out why these kids go missing. There's about 5 to 6 characters throughout the movie, and over the course of the movie, more and more of the plot kind of unfolds. Like there are a couple of times I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh man, I liked the suspense, and then the build up of a lot of scenes in the movie. I wanted to personally like note, I went and saw it with those like crazy 45 whatever kind of DX chairs that move and stuff. And it really gave you like it was like a pseudo VR or AR kind of experience, because I have a very nice surround sound system, but this was better than that. This was like, it was like borderline roller coaster surround sound is how I kind of describe it. But we went to go see it, and I mean, I would definitely recommend it. My first initial like takes, and I'll probably have to think on this for a little bit more before it's like locked in. But again, boom, coming at you. I just wanted to give y'all a hot take. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. And I'll kind of go into more detail about that in the spoiler portion of the video. But yeah, non-spoilers, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10, just because not only was it a good movie, a lot of the plot does get solved, or like the problems that they introduce do get resolved in one way or another. And again, the pacing and the cinematography is really really good. I like it if you can get immersed in what's being shown, and then you actually want a resolution. You want some movies, you just are like, when is this over, which again, if I'm gonna keep shitting on 28 Years Later, that's what that movie was. Dr. Voldemort comes out, he's like, I'm gonna take your mom. and you can make her skeleton at the top of a Christmas tree, and I'm like, what am I watching right? Okay, yeah. Um, if you get creeped out by little kids, if you, I will kind of say if I had to compare this movie to anything, I would say it was not an extension, but a continuation maybe of what Barbarian brought to the table, where it's like kind of mythos, kind of like plot twist kind of things, and creepy modern day elements. Though that's one thing I was like pretty like, oh crap, like you got like wireless security cameras and stuff like that. And I'm so used to, like, I guess I'm old, man. I'm so used to like old movies being outdated, like, or sorry, scary movies being like outdated. Um, this was a modern scary movie, right? Like, and there are a lot of kind of semi-realistic. I'd say 80% of this movie could happen. You know, 80, like maybe, there's a lot of stuff that could happen, unfortunately, but the elements at which they kind of go about, that's that 20% that's like, so yeah, 8 out of 10. This is just like I said, an impromptu review, so like I'll get better as far as rolling these out, and I'm maybe a more like refined structure. The 3 points that I would want to like really note out, I feel like I have structured for video game reviews. I'll have to work on that with the movie ones, transparently. So we're gonna go into the spoiler portion of the video, okay? So spoilers in the intro. You get another heads up. Hey, spoilers, right? So spoilers of the movie. There were some elements that towards the end I really wasn't a super big fan of. So again, spoilers in this portion. So you find out that all the kids get like taken by like this witch lady. And in the end, because you have a lot of like conflict resolution. So I did like that the crackhead and the cop, I feel like not only was the maybe the moral of the story is that a lot of people weaponize what they're passionate about, right? And people can rally behind that, but it's hurting somebody else, right? At the end of the day, your security may be hurting somebody else. I feel like that you could kind of like, you could blanket that over, because there's a lot of elements that, like, the one crackhead, for instance, he's doing heroin and that makes him feel better because he's down bad. But then the other guy's like, he's like, the cop's like, am I gonna get poked? And he gets poked, and then because he gets poked, he ends up cheating on his wife. And then that cop, right? Like I thought he was a cool guy, but then he believed him, and then he ended up, we saw what happened. I feel like there were a lot of tie-ins from, I feel like, what did I say, Barbarian, as well as maybe It Follows, because there's that whole like mystical element of like there was a lot of like suspenseful elements is what I liked. I liked when I had more questions in the movie than maybe the answers, and that's why I'm gonna maybe get a couple points off. The answers were cathartic, right? But I was like, okay. I just liked it when I had more questions, basically. And I'm like, I was on the edge of my seat for a lot of that. The first hour, there was a lot of pacing elements in there that I loved. And I actually looked at the clock. I was like, I have a whole nother hour to build off of what they've already introduced. So I was pretty happy with it. I guess I'll give maybe the reasons why I wasn't a fan of, like a couple points off. First off, the end of the movie is pretty much just like a comedy. And it wasn't weirdly placed, but the end of the movie, high key, was just like they got their revenge, but it was like in the most like absurd way possible. And which is twice now in the past like couple months where I went to a scary movie and it ended in like a what the fuck way. 28 years later, spoilers for that, turns into like these Power Rangers come out and save the day. And at the end of this movie, all the kids, like, I feel like all the kids, and maybe I'll elaborate on my opinion of how the movie ended, but I feel like all the kids just got reverse hypnosis into killing the person who put them under hypnosis, right? And then in the end, they start to like talk about how, they eventually came out of it, right? Blah, 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 blah. And I made the joke, I was like, they got the domain expansion Infinity, where like their brain was so like like fucked up from the hypnosis that they couldn't like really operate. You have Thanos, right? You have Thanos finds his kid. His kid, you never really are like, you're like, who is his kid? And at the end, it's the little boy who was bullying the one kid who actually was helping the witch lady, right? So his security actually, or like his parenting style or anything, made that kid a bully abusive, which made this kid complacent with all this fucking crazy witchcraft stuff, right? Which is like closeted behind doors. Like I like that. It was kind of clever. They tear apart the old lady. I do like. It felt like it was a shout out to Shaun of the Dead, low key, where that guy gets torn apart, but it might have not been. But it was pretty graphic, that part, and I like the image of the kids like standing over her. But I do feel like the introduction of the witch lady maybe not handled better, but it was a bit odd, the introduction of her, which is, if that's what they were going for, fantastic. But it just felt like kind of like a right. You felt where the pivot shift was in that fifth chapter, because that's what they did. And I am a big fan of like movies that do the not cantos, but like basically like chapters, and then all the pieces come together. I just felt like kind of when the little kids chapter came up, it was like it was boom. You really did see the turmoil that he went through as far as like having to like basically feed everybody, but there do arise some questions. Like I was thinking on my way back, like how did Thanos come out of his body to go see his kid in that house or something like that, right? Or like was that a dream sequence? And then the gun with the 217, which I get it, right? Weapons, da 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 da. But it was a floating gun above that. Was that symbolism? I'm not too sure. It looked cool, but like it's like okay. A lot of like those scenes, I feel like the movie could have been a little bit more condensed. It's not that it was too long or anything. Again, I was happy about the duration, but if I had to gripe at all, that would be one of the complaints. And I really had like, and this isn't a point off or anything, but I really didn't like the beginning character, like that Janice girl or anything like that. I felt like they did a good job portraying that character, and then pivoting and making her, you kind of feel bad for her at some points, and then you're like, okay, towards the end, okay. But I guess in summary, right, what I took away from this movie was that in the end, right, they say that okay, the kids ended up talking again, but you see in the scene where he's like holding his parents that they're still unresponsive and like basically in like a coma like state, right? And then you hear her go, she's like, they moved somewhere else with a new aunt, right? With a new aunt. That leads me to believe, right, that he brainwashed a lady and now is continuing that practice with that whole setup, right? Because he's like, well, I never talked to these kids anyways. I hated them, and I only cared about my parents, so I'm gonna just go, right? Like he has all that power. He saw how that witch lady did all that crazy stuff too, right? So he could just hypothetically do that. The whole plot line with the cop and the junkie got resolved. The wife didn't get resolved. I don't know. Like there was a whole plot thread where like she was pregnant or something like that, and he ended up cheating, and it was like really really like horrible stuff. And I'd say like that's the main gist. Like the ghost Thanos out of body like ether part, I didn't really like. I didn't like it became a comedy with all the kids like destroyed. Like I laughed, but I just want my movies to be like ominous and scary. So again, that's the director's style, and I understand. I'm just being persnickety at this point, but an 8, all in all in total. There was the chair. I would get the chair. I'd get some snacks, right? I'd get some friends. I did. Like somebody had told me before going in this, because I didn't want any spoilers. They had said I probably wouldn't watch it again. I would watch this with friends who haven't seen it, and I don't know. Like knowing now the plot, I don't know if I would rewatch it. So instead of like, I would take all of those gripes, take 1 point, And then another point entirely, because I'm a big advocate for like replayability. If I wouldn't want to rewatch it, or it's not necessarily maybe a cult class, it's not a cult classic. I don't know if I would want to watch it again. So just buy myself in blanket, you know. But that could change, right? In a couple of days, and maybe I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd end up watching that again. I would watch it with friends who maybe haven't, like I said, seen it before, or maybe we're just genuinely curious. The ending part was pretty funny. It was. There was like I was like, oh shit, like they were like chasing them and stuff through the end. So yeah, I'm curious to see what everybody else thought though. If you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm gonna have more of like a structured review, but like yeah, that's my 2 cents. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Would recommend it to a friend or watching it with a group of friends. And yeah, good vibe, good times. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below and share and like. What do you think happened at the end? I am curious because like the blank stare from the kid has led me to believe that like maybe that other kid, they said he was beginning to talk. Maybe they would just are getting brainwashed though, you know, and he just escaped. You know, I'm curious about that because you never really see anybody break the hypnosis part. You just see them die from it. Like they died or they're muted after that. They don't really like come back from that. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Appreciate y'all. Bye bye.